You know, we've said it plenty of times before on this channel, but there's a certain thing about Thomas and Friends that makes it a bit more special, especially when compared to other kid shows. It's realistic, often based in real life. And this isn't something we've strayed away from talking about here. I mean, back in the day, there was an entire series on my channel where we documented the true stories of Thomas episodes. Ones with actual inspiration, life imitating art, and so on. Then you have those episodes that make you think, yeah, there's no way. And one of those episodes more than likely is James Goes Buzz Buzz. Like, how can this story be real in any capacity? In the simplest terms, it's about James, best character by the way, getting stung on his nose by an adorably animated bee. They spin him around on a turntable to get rid of the bees. This does not work. And Private First Class James is then buried in Arlington Cemetery full honors. Pretty normal story. But trains are not actually, well, alive though, so how would this ever be real or have any real-life inspiration? Well, let's not judge a book by its cover. You'd be surprised. Today, I figured, why not swing back to the History of series? Just maybe one more time for one of the most wild stories. The true story behind James Goes Buzz Buzz. And it goes a little something like this. The source today is from the Times of London, the 13th of August, 1956. It details when staff, passengers, and even an entire train were driven away by 6 bees that had escaped from a single damaged hive. The story itself is pretty intriguing too, so lock in, grab a drink, maybe some chips, and just listen for a minute. The chain of events, which led me to become a beekeeper, started some 50 miles away from our home. Down in Kent, 6 hives of bees came on the market, with the retirement of old Fred. He was over 80, and even at that age could scarcely bear to be parted from his little darlings. But his landlady was firm. He was too old to be quote-unquote messing around with those bees. So either they went, or Fred found another place to live. And Fred was pretty comfortable where he was. He found local buyers for 5 of his 6 colonies. This pleased him, for not only could he keep an eye on them, but he would also not go short of honey in the good seasons. But for a while, the 6th hive would worry him. But once my wife heard about it, through an uncle who had visited Fred, the matter was settled. It was most suitable that our acres of garden should accommodate bees, lest there should be any hesitations or demurrings on my part. My wife decided that the bees should constitute her birthday present to me. There have been birthday gifts, which I enthusiastically received, but 50,000 gift bees cannot be looked in the mouths. The mysterious rites which I had witnessed as a child, my father kept bees, came back to convince me that I must brush up on my know-how. I brought a book on the subject and studied it carefully. It told a fascinating story, and by the end of the week, I felt that I had learned enough of the jargon to satisfy old Fred, that his little darlings would be in safe hands. Still, I was relieved to learn that the old man meant to travel with the bees, and see them installed properly before he left. I promise the trains are coming soon, just hold on. He invited himself for a week's stay with us, so that I might fully be instructed in the care of my new family. A date in May was fixed, and I was asked to meet Fred at London Bridge Station at 10 o'clock in the morning. His luggage would consist of 50,000 bees and 1 queen, safely shut in their hive, a spare hive, and various paraphernalia associated with beekeeping. London Bridge Station in the middle of a morning rush is not easily associated with, especially with that of beehives. But old Fred was quite undeterred. Disdaining to take under his notice that section of London's business community which traveled on his train, ordered a large 4-wheeled trolley and told the porter to look sharp as the bees couldn't wait all day. They had work to do. I kept well in the background. Left to me, I'm certain the bees would have been carried to Charing Cross before there could be any delay for this type of luggage, or perhaps livestock, or whatever classification British Railways may allot to a hive of bees. For a few moments, I felt that even old Fred would be defeated by the organization, which gets the London businessman to his office. But the luggage trolley did arrive, just as the engine, very fussily, started to emit jets of steam, as though anxious to be on its way. First, the empty hive was lifted onto the trolley, followed by the full one, with Fred issuing instructions to the porter and beseeching him to move very warily. Unfortunately, the porter paid little heed, He was far more concerned the train got away on time. That was until he saw a half a dozen bees escaping from the corner of the hive, where he had sufficiently disarranged it with a small aperture. With a cry of alarm, as he knew all about live bees, he leapt from his trolley and left Fred and me in charge. His cry was instantly taken up. There was a minor stampede of striped pants and black coats down the platform. Carriage windows were hastily closed as heads were withdrawn, and the engine driver, who had watched from his cab, gave 2 hasty toots on his whistle, and I swear it, without waiting for the guard's flag or porters to raise their flags, pulled immediately out of harm's way. Fred and I, together with 49,994 bees, were left in isolation on the platform. It was now old Fred's turn to be put out. 6 of his little darlings had escaped, to die. They would never regain their hive and would circle aimlessly in that barren wilderness till they perished. However, in the event, only 4 were lost, as 2 surprisingly came back to me within a minute or so, and were recaptured and popped into the empty hive by the old man himself with his bare hands. At this point, Fred and I were allowed to load our bees onto the Waterloo train. Evidently, the station staff had decided to declare them black, and no objection was offered to our traveling in the van with the hives. Word of our coming seemed to have preceded us at Waterloo. Once again, we unloaded our hives, and then we were hitched on the end of a very, very long luggage trolley train, with a little tractor at the front, which towed us out of the station and across the road, while a majestic policeman held up all traffic. Indeed, it would seem the Waterloo station was fully aware that royalty in the person of the Queen Bee was traveling that day, with me, Fred, and her other 49,000 subjects to protect her. She traveled safely to her 3rd train, and so reached her new territory. The location of his 6th hive, a large garden with plenty of blue flowers, he did say the bees liked them best, really seemed to please old Fred. He had not expected outer London to be like that, and went home happy. Though I suspect not without a moment of grief when he passed through London Bridge Station. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true story of James Goes Buzz Buzz. Now, I'm not sure if I would call this a direct inspiration to the episode. I mean, there's definitely some correlations here, but I think this falls more under life imitating art, even if it took place way before. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you have a different one, or maybe agree, be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more train content. There's always something new on the way. Really quick, huge shout out and thank you to all of my patrons for making videos like this possible. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I guess with all that being said, I need to go work on my beehive, on the layout. And hope James hasn't gotten yeah, too late. Should have seen that one coming. All right, well, I'm gonna go get some ointment. See you guys later.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.